So Blender version 5.0 was just recently released, and if you'd like to learn about all the new updates and features, you can check out this page here on Blender's website. I'll have a link to it in the description. But in the new update, they've added some really cool features to Blender's Compositor, which I'll be sharing with you in this video. Now, one of my favorite new features of Blender version 5 is that they've added support for the Compositor in the video editor, so you can actually use all of the compositing effects in the video editor. Now, they've also added in some built-in compositing presets, which I'll be going over in this video, and you can also create node groups and mark those node groups as assets to use them in other projects, which I'll be covering later in the video. So I've just opened up Blender's video editor and I've added in the animation of my cute robot tutorial. Link is in the description if you want to check out this video. Now, if you just select a video strip in the Compositor, you can see on the N side panel, if you hit N to open up the side panel, the video strip settings aren't on the side panel. There are a few settings like the proxy settings and a few other settings, but the main strip settings are now right up here on the properties panel. So if you click on a video strip, you can see now there are two new tabs here. So there's the strip properties and there is the strip modifiers. So the strip properties are just the same settings. So you can change like the opacity, you can change the position, and there's basically all the different settings. But then right over here, there's strip modifiers. And so most of these strip modifiers were in the old Blender version, Blender 4.5, but they were right down here on the N side panel here in the sequencer. And so you can see many of the modifiers are the same, like the brightness and contrast and the curves, but there is a new modifier called Compositor. So let's create some compositing nodes and then we'll add it to our video editing. Now, if you jump over to the compositing tab, you can see there isn't the use nodes button, but in the new Blender version, you're instead just going to click on the new button here, and that's going to create compositing nodes. So with the new update of Blender version 5, you can actually create multiple compositing node trees, which is really useful. Now, for video editing, this compositing is actually the wrong type of compositing because this is the scene compositing with the render layers. So if you want to do compositing in the video editor, you'll need to change the scene over to sequencer. Now, when I do that, you can see it's completely grayed out, and that is because we're right over here on the compositing tab. So instead, we want to jump over here to the video editor, and then what I'm going to do is click and drag to split the window, and I'll let go. And then if I click here to change the editor type of the new window, I'm going to change this to the compositor. So then, of course, here on the scene, we don't want this to be set to scene because that's not going to work with the video editor. We want to change it to sequencer so we can add compositing effects for the sequencer. Now, after setting this to sequencer, if the value is still grayed out like it is for me, what you want to do is just select one of your video strips, and then we want to add a modifier to this video strip, and we're going to add a compositing modifier. So now we can just click on new to add a new sequencer compositing nodes, and you can just rename this if you want to. So I could just call this like video edit or whatever you want to call it. Now, instead of having a render layers, it has a group input instead. And in Blender version 5, because there are different compositing node trees that you can choose from, you can also choose from them right here. Although if you use a different one, which isn't for the video editor, you can see it's not going to work. You can see it says node unsupported, and you're not able to see anything in your video editing. So make sure you're using the type of compositing which is supported for video editing. So now we can add compositing effects to our video editing. Now, there are these really cool presets, which I'll be going over later in the video. But for example, I'll just go to the add menu and I'm just going to search for like RGB curves. I'll just drop the RGB curves right here between the group input and the group output and the viewer. So now I can just change the settings for the RGB curves. And then when I play the video editing, you can see it's actually affecting the video editor. So that is very cool. I could also maybe search for like a lens distortion. So I'll add lens distortion, and then I'll just turn up the dispersion a little bit. Let's just turn that up. And now when I play this, you can see it is kind of laggy because this effect is a little bit laggy for the video editor to play in real time, but it is adding the effect to the video. Now, I'm also going to use one of the presets. So I'm going to use this cool vignette effect. So I'll just drag and drop this here, and then I can just drop it right here into the node tree. So you can see it's going to add kind of a darkness to the image, and there's also custom values to control the vignette. However, there are a few problems with adding the compositor modifier to this video strip. One thing is that when I try to scale this, it's also going to scale the compositing nodes. So you can see now the vignette isn't around the entire edge of the image, it's just around the edge of this single video. And that might be useful in some cases, but in other cases you might want to scale down your video because maybe you want to overlay a video on top of another video, but you want the compositing to affect the entire video editing project. Another example is if I go to the add menu, I'm going to add an image or sequence. And I'm just going to add this arrow image, and I'm going to stick the arrow image above my video editing. But you can see this arrow also isn't being affected by the compositor. And that is because I added the modifier, the compositing modifier, to just this video, but now this arrow is right over the top of it. And also, if I'm working on a big video editing project and I drop in another video, now this video doesn't have the same compositing effects. So for every single video strip, I'd have to click on add modifier, add the compositor, and then on the drop down, choose the video edit. So instead of adding the compositor modifier to every single strip in your video editing, I'm going to delete them from both of these video strips. So I will go to the add menu and I'm going to add the adjustment layer. So I'll drop the adjustment layer here, and then let's just click and drag and make it much bigger. So the adjustment layer fills the entire video editing project. But now what I can do is just add the compositing modifier to the adjustment layer. So if I click on add modifier and add compositor, and then click on the drop down and add the video edit compositing, you can now see it's affecting my entire project. And if I like move this arrow right up here, move it into the vignette, you can see the vignette is above it, and that's because the adjustment layer is over the top of my entire video editing project. And what's so useful about this is I can easily just click H to hide it and Alt H to unhide it. So if I just want to hide it temporarily, I can hide it and I can do all my video editing. And then when I'm done, before I render the video, I can just hit Alt H to bring it back. And so we just have a new layer, which is just going to be the compositing. I could also select a video strip and I could scale the video strip down and I could move it here into the corner. And you can see the vignette is still going to be covering the entire size of the video editing. So now I've opened up the original file for my cute robot character tutorial series. So let's just jump over here to Blender's Compositor, and I'll press F12 to render the image, and then I'll hit the escape key to go back to the compositor, and let's click on new to add new compositing nodes. So in Blender version 5.0, there are these really cool compositing effect presets. So I'm just going to drag and drop in the first one, which is the chromatic aberration, and I can just drop it here after the render layers. So the chromatic aberration is very similar to the lens distortion. If I just search for lens distortion, there's also the old lens distortion, which you could still definitely use, but with this chromatic aberration, it's very similar, but the effect looks a little bit different. So you can see it's kind of making those cool colors there on the edges, kind of those cool rainbow colors on the edge of the robot. And there's also a few different types here that you can play around with. So there's like lens dispersion. I can just turn this factor up here. And so this is very similar to the previous lens distortion, or you can change the different types. Now there's also this really cool sensor noise, and this is basically going to add like some film grain. And so I can just turn up both of these values. So you can see there's the luminance noise and then the chroma noise. So both of these noise values look a little bit different. You can see this one here, the chroma noise, it's mainly affecting like the face of the character, but I can't really see it in these gray spots. And it's also very colored. So if I zoom in closely, there's kind of little specks of color, whereas the other one, the luminance noise, you can see that's just a little bit more like black and white. And so this one kind of makes it look like it's an old video recording with kind of that noisy pattern. Now there's also an animated button, so if you turn this on, when you render the scene, it's automatically going to be animated. Now probably my favorite one out of all of these is the vignette, and so this is going to be so useful. And then we have some different values like the factor, so this is going to control the strength of the vignette, and then there's also this feather, which is also controlling like the size of it. So if I turn the feather really small, you can see it's going to be much more sharp. If I turn the feather up, it's going to be a lot more soft on the edges. And then there's also a few transform settings. So you can change the scale of it if you want it to be bigger and smaller. You can also change the offset. So if you just want the vignette to be in one corner, you could change that. And you could also change the corner roundness. So if I turn this way down, the corners are going to be a lot more sharp. If I turn them up, they're going to be a lot more soft. Now the next one is sepia, so I'll drop in the sepia and I'll just place it right here. And so this is going to give kind of like an old-fashioned or antique or vintage photo look. So I probably won't be using this very often, but there is the contrast, so you can change the contrast of it. And then you can also change like the tone of it. So you can make it a little bit more yellow or kind of a little bit more red. And then there's also the saturation, so you can make it be really kind of red or more of just black and white. And then the other one is the split toning. So I'll drop in the split toning and drop it here. And the split toning is going to make the highlights and the shadows different colors. So there's the highlight colors. And so on the default, it's kind of orange. So let me make it like a strong red so you can see it better. And then for the shadows, it's like a blue color. So you can see just by changing those colors, the highlights, which are kind of like those shiny bits on the robot, they're kind of that orangey color. And then the shadows are kind of that blue color. And so the blue is a bit stronger. Now I can also change the factor of this so I can make it even stronger. So you can really see the effect now. So the highlights are orange and then the shadows are blue. And then there's also the factor for the shadows. So obviously right now I'm making the effect way too strong, but I just want to make it very strong so you can clearly see the effect. Now the next one is this tune image, and this one is very cool. I'm probably going to use this one in a lot of projects. However, you could definitely overdo it if you make it too strong. But this one is very cool. So there's a contrast, so I can just turn the contrast up. And then there's also this color boost. So this is basically just going to make it more saturated. If I turn this way up, you can see the colors are much more saturated. Now there's also clarity, and so this is very cool. So this is basically going to sharpen the image and just make it much more crisp. So if I turn up the clarity, you can see the brightness and contrast is a lot stronger, and also the edges kind of just look a bit more crisp. Now there's also this detail value, and so if I turn this up, it's kind of gonna show the edges more. So especially if I like zoom into the edges, you can see the edges are really nice and crisp. So this could definitely be overused. You probably wouldn't want to use it too much, but just turning up the detail a little bit will just make the image pop a little. Then there's also this sharpen value, and so again, you probably don't want to overdo this, because if you kind of look here on the edges just look way too sharp, and you can kind of see the shape of the pixels. But if you just turn up the sharpen a little bit, it's just going to make the edges pop and make it look a little bit more crisp. And then there's also this unsharpened mask. So if I drop this here and add it in, this is just going to kind of sharpen up the edges a little bit, and it's going to make the edges a little bit more thick. So you can kind of see around all of the different parts of where the contrast is. So the edges of the objects, it just makes everything a little bit more thick, kind of giving like a thick edge. And I can easily change the radius to change that thickness. So you could use this just to add a little bit of pop to your objects to kind of thicken the edges. Then you can also change the factor, which is just the overall strength of it. And then you can also change the threshold. So if you change the threshold, it's only going to pick parts of the object which have a bit more contrast, like for example on the eye here. Now there's also this retiming option, but unfortunately I can't really give you very much info on how to use this. I did read through the Blender manual, but it didn't really give too much information, and it didn't really give any examples on how to use it. I also tried looking for articles or tutorials on how to use it, but I couldn't really find much info online, probably because it's a pretty new feature. But if you move your mouse over the retiming, you can see it says adjust timing by offsetting, scaling, looping, and snapping the scene frame. So I probably wouldn't use it that often anyways. Now, as well as the compositing effect presets, there's also been an update to the glare node. So if I just search for the glare node and drop it right in here, if I click on the streaks here, you can see there's now a new option, which is sunbeams. And so the sunbeams is going to replace the old sunbeams node. So if I just add the sunbeams and then click on the glare node, there's this little X here, so I can kind of drag this around. And so wherever the X is, that's going to be the center of the sunbeams. So you can see now there's some cool sunbeams coming out of the brightest spots of the object. And especially because the robot's eyes are emission materials, there's going to be light kind of emitting out. So it adds a really cool sunbeam effect. But you can of course change like the strength of it, you can change the saturation, and you can also change the tint. So there's many more settings now to adjust the look of the sunbeam. Now what's also really cool about Blender version 5 is you can create your own node groups in the Compositor and then mark them as assets, and you can use them in other projects. So for example, I have these 3 nodes here, and let's say that I want to join them into a node group. So I can click and drag to select all of them and hit Control G, that'll join them into a node group, and then I can hit Tab to go in and out of the node group. So if I make the node group bigger, I can just rename this, and I'll just call this Custom Setup. So maybe I want to use this custom setup in future projects and add it to other Blender files. Well, what you can do is just right click here, and then you can click on mark as asset. So when you mark it as an asset, you can see right down here in the corner, right behind me, let me just move myself out of the way. You can see right down here, we now have the custom preset, and I can just drag and drop it here, and now we have the same custom preset. So if I drop this here, you can see now we have 2 of them, so the strength is even stronger. Now, if I click and drag to split the window and then change this to the asset browser, and then I'll click on all libraries and go to current file, you can see here is the custom compositing setup. So if you want to change the name of it or sort it into a catalog or add a custom thumbnail, if I hit N to open up the side panel, you can see right here, I could add a custom thumbnail to the compositing setup if I wanted to. Now, what I could also do is save this Blender file. So I'll just click on File and Save. So now that I've saved this Blender file, I'm just going to close it and open up a new project. So I've just opened up a new Blender file, and I'm just going to click on Edit, and I'll go to the Preferences, and I'll go to File Paths, and then I'll click on the plus here on Asset Libraries to add a new asset library. Then I'm just going to locate to my folder with the compositing where I marked it as an asset, and I'll click on Add Asset Library, and then I'll close the user preferences. So now I'm going to click on New to create a new compositing node tree, but you can see right down here, here is the custom setup that I've added. So it's now added as an asset, so I can just drag and drop it into any project and just drop it right here, and you can see it's going to add the same exact effect to this new project. And if you wanted to, you could also click right up here on the compositing nodes here, and you could also mark this as an asset. So now the entire compositing node setup is also going to be marked as an asset. Now, because you can add multiple compositing node trees, you can also append in this data to another Blender file. So I've just opened up a new Blender file, and I can click on File and then Append. Then I can locate to my Blender file with the other compositing setup, and I'll go inside the Blender file, and I'm going to go into the node tree folder. As you can see, here are the different node trees. You can see here's the custom setup, and here's also the compositing nodes. I'm just going to add in these three, so I'll select all of them and then click on Append. So now if I click on the dropdown, you can see these other compositing node setups which I've added are now in the new project. So those are how to use all the new main features of Blender's Compositor in Blender version 5.0. So let me know what you're most excited about. I really like these presets, especially the vignette, and I'm definitely going to be using the Compositor in the video editor because I video edit all of my videos with Blender. And if you'd like to watch more videos about the new Blender 5.0 new features, I've been posting some videos on my YouTube channel recently covering the different new features, so you can definitely check out those other videos on my YouTube channel. And if you're new to Blender's Compositor and you'd like to learn all the basic fundamentals of Blender's Compositor, definitely check out my Compositing for Beginners tutorial. Link to that is in the description. So I hope you found this helpful, and thanks for watching.